Hello and welcome to Hunting for Headlines with Jalen Rose and Nima Tabgay. Today, as usual, we'll be discussing the latest scores, news, stats, and headlines all across the globe in the football world. Sit back and enjoy the show with me at Hunting for Headlines today.
Marcus Rashford, the coolest man in the place. In space, big mix-up. Only him. Only him.
Today, we will start off with the Comebol. Now, for those that don't know what that is, it is one of 7 federations in FIFA. Obviously, in North America, it's called CONCACAF, but in South America, it's called Conmebol. Now, obviously, this federation has suspended its World Cup qualifiers recently in the news after clubs have refused to release their players. Now, obviously, for international breaks in the world of soccer, teams and players have to be called up in order to play in their respective matches. Now, obviously, that comes with this, the players have to be released from the club, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic and everything that has been put into place, some of the players aren't able to leave their respective teams in the country which they play in. Now, obviously, this is due to COVID-19, but obviously other factors include the quarantine restrictions and the pandemic surrounding that goes around spreading virus through airlines and borderline security and all those type of things. Now, obviously, the FIFA confederation should, and many people would say, the world and the boss of football will analyze the rescheduling for the respective dates for these fixtures. For an example, Argentina playing Uruguay in the River Plate Derby in Argentina, Colombia playing their teams as well, and all the other South American sides such as Bolivia and Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, and the rest of them. Also, there are 10 South American teams that are trying to qualify for the FIFA World Cup in Qatar in 2022, and it has been acknowledged since March 30th with the games trying to go ahead between the 25th and the 26th of March along with the 30th to play these games, but due to tightening lockdowns and quarantine regulations, many European-based players are unable to travel. And of course, this will impact the South American players because in professional football, a group or a club consists of many different people, many different nationalities. So you'll have people from Asia, Africa, North America, South America, and all around the globe. Now, among these events that are happening, Brazil's games are also affected, along with Argentina's, Colombia's, of course, all the derbies. But just for just a quick note to how these teams qualify and where they stand. There is the top 4 teams in a 10-team qualifying group. They automatically qualify for Qatar in 2022, and the 5th place team will then be placed into an inter-regional playoff, where they go against the likes of other smaller teams or international teams in their continent. Now, obviously, certain managers also had a problem with this, like Pep Guardiola, Manchester City's manager in England, along with Liverpool's manager Jurgen Klopp. They spoke out against releasing the players in the game for their games on international break. They think it doesn't really make much sense for the national team to have their players isolate for 10 days before they go and play, only for that to backfire on them and to spread the virus, because obviously with COVID-19, you don't know if you have it until you're tested. And of course, you can extract it from somewhere or elsewhere, and you could spread it to amongst others wherever you are. So the fact is, having them quarantine and going through all these regulations isn't really helping the national team finish their games. Now, there's 18 games you do play, however, to qualify for the World Cup. And, all the national teams have only played about 4 games. So obviously, as you can see in their schedules, they are largely behind. Now, obviously, that isn't all due to the pandemic. Among the players stems from, them being released out of the club, the convenience of the club needing their players in bigger matches and needing them to be there. Obviously, the national team or being a part of it isn't a necessity. Obviously, they usually call up the best of the best players, or the odd time they'll call up other players depending on circumstances. Obviously, in this case, it's the World Cup, so they are going to bring the world's best players from their respective national side. In terms of with the Conmebol, they are going to be suspending these games just to take in some precaution. I'm just alluding back to what Pep Guardiola said. He did say it doesn't really make much sense for the national teams to be taking their players out, quarantining them. They're just wasting time. And, with his club, they've been working incredibly hard to make sure that they aren't extracted with the virus and they don't get it. And so the fact that they're going to another country where, the uncertainty lies there if, the same COVID-19 being the infections rate is higher or lower, but regardless, they're spending more time doing that than finishing the games, prolonging their season, prolonging their schedule, and just really getting things mixed up. So the Comebol did suspend that just to, for now, just to make things easier. Covering the final topic today will be the Euro 2020, or I guess many people would say now 2021, as the tournament's now continuation will be of this summer, and how their stadiums might be impacted or losing jeopardy of the various cities that are at risk losing fans. Now, obviously, the three stadiums or the three countries that might not have the Euros played in their respective countries or stadiums is Spain, Ireland, and Scotland. Now, obviously, at Bilbao's Estadio San Mayamas, they're set to host 4 games. But obviously, all these games could be moved to different venues within Spain, as the Basque country government does not want to provide any clarity over spectator limits. He is unsure of what's going on, and on top of that, who should be in the stadiums, how many people should be in there, and how it's going to impact them. Now, obviously, that particular side of Spain is also going through a separatist movement, so you can assure that the Euros isn't their main term of concern. Also, in addition, the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland, it was also due to host 4 games, but Irish authorities have also yet provided a word lifting on their ban. Many fans are prohibited from attending fixtures all throughout Ireland until April 5th. The Irish government claims also says that it's, quoted, too early to say how and when restrictions should be eased and when they should be informed, depending on what happens with COVID. And finally, at the Hampton Park in Glasgow, Scotland, it could be a swap-for-swap stadium in England, as UEFA is awaiting their decision for Scottish authorities north of the border to have games there as well. And obviously, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has reiterated earlier in the week that the UK is open to hosting many games in the tournament to also accommodate those countries and those stadiums for their chances of not potentially hosting these Euro games. Now, obviously, all these things are impacted or affected and are also discussed by COVID-19. At the end of the day, it is out of their hands. It all comes down to how the virus is going to impact individuals, how fast it spreads, and of course, where it is going to be consistent in or be a part of. Now, elsewhere in UEFA has also launched a search for external media agencies to handle the marketing, promotions, activities, and competitions during the 2021, 2022, and the 2023-2024 cycle. What I mean by this is they're not going to go and market stadiums and places and venues to play in Euros if they're not going to be used or access to use these games. Governing bodies also took issue to invitation, the tenured of these certain countries, and will also take responsibility if their stadiums cannot be met based on FIFA regulations. And of course, they need to meet the deadline by the 5th to make sure all these stadiums are in place so the tournament is good to go. Marketing strategy and campaigns can be finalized, and of course the social media channels can be verified with sponsorship activations, and to make sure that wherever they are, money is being handled, money is being flowed, money is being accessed through all these different cities to host these games and to make sure everything is in sweep conditions. Now, that is all for today on Hunting for Headlines with Jalen Rose and Nima Topgate today. You can catch us next week with the latest scores, news, and statistics all across the globe in the football world. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye, and see you next week.
Hunting